So, hi there. This is Tenacious Earl, and it is Saturday night, November 3rd, and I just wanted to check in. Obviously, by the title of this, hopefully you will get the drift that I'm not doing a game right now, which I'm not, but I do want to give a quick update because, first off, my last video got quite a few comments, and I appreciate those of you who left messages in the comments section, as well as a couple of you touched base with me personally, whether through email or through messages, etc., etc. And I do appreciate your feedback, your encouragement, your support. So what's the update? The update is I made a decision there about a week ago that what I needed to do was I needed a bit of a cleanse. And I don't know, I guess I started thinking about, I have a friend who, he does like weekly, actually he does it twice per week. He does a fast, a day-long fast. Doesn't eat. He has coffee. He might have a soda. I don't know if he does that, but he definitely has coffee. But other than that, he figures it allows him to kind of like purge his system of certain things, and it kind of keeps his body off guard, let's say. I'm just trying to get up the comment section. And so I guess I started thinking about it for this, and I kind of felt like I needed the same kind of thing with the tabletop sports a little bit. That it would be helpful to have a bit of a fast. You have to understand that, like, my mind, when it gets onto something, it can often like encapsulate it and be very influential in all sorts of aspects of my life, just aside from when I'm in this little room here. By the way, have a new sign. I put up an old license plate that I had for the Bills and a Sabre stop sign. I put up a couple things just as adornments. I may add some more later on, we'll see, but just trying to add to the ambiance. But anyway, let's get back. I get sort of wrapped up so much, and I have things going through my head where I'm going to spend way too much time offline thinking and preparing for what I do here. And that isn't always conducive even to my real life things that go on that I really need to be more focused on. But regardless of that, that kind of grind, I think, also plays a role in some fatigue when it comes to actually carrying out projects with the dice and the cards. And I mean, I've been doing this mostly for the last 2 years plus. I mean, it's been a pretty steady diet of whether it's baseball, it's a lot of golf here the last year, some football, some soccer. It's been a lot, just kind of going through my head, a lot of time. And so I guess I decided to myself what I really needed to do is I needed at least a week of just not thinking about it at all. 100% get it out of your mind. Don't even think about it. And I will say, on occasion, I would think to myself, I just got home from work. Maybe I should go roll tonight. And I just said, you know what? I'm going to shut the door on it for now. I'm going to let myself have this space and just let it breathe. Let it get back to sort of normalcy. Again, sort of a cleanse, a purge. And I think And so I don't know. I didn't write down the date. I guess I just figured I would know when it was time to get back to it. And yesterday was that day when I got back to it. I sat down here. I had this Miami Buffalo Tenacious Football League game sitting here on the desk. It had been here for about, like I said, probably a week and a half by that point. And it was time. I felt like I'm going to get through this. I wasn't able to get through it last night, but I did play some of it last night and some of it today. And I'll report on that in a second. But anyway, this is just some feedback. I'm trying to, through YouTube here, you know, part of this channel is playing some games, showing some tutorials, showing the way a game plays out, and maybe some of the strategy, some of the choices that I make. You know, can you use those experiences of watching to improve the way you play your games? Because maybe you won't make the same mistake I did, or maybe my mistake wasn't really a mistake, maybe it was just bad luck. But so that's kind of what I feel like this channel is mostly about, or should be about, is advice and being something of a guide for you. And so I think this is a very helpful point as well, is you know, if you're within the first 6 months of having this hobby, well, I don't know, maybe hobby's the wrong word. I mean, this is a passion, and to do something for a couple of years, pretty much religiously, it has to be a passion. But if you're in the first 6 months of that, you're probably not running into a whole lot of, gee, this is sapping me. This is, you know, maybe you are, and if it is, I mean, that may be normal somewhat too. I mean, I've had like mini breaks along the way, but I do think that if you've been doing this a long time, and if you're starting to just sort of feel like this is a drag, why am I doing this? You know, what's my goal? You may just need to say, I'm just gonna take a break. I gotta get it out of my mind. I gotta get to the point where my head stops thinking about it, because it's just not healthy for me, for my love of this. Plus, it's also not healthy necessarily for things such as your family, your vocation, your own sort of mental state. I mean, I'll tell you what, for the first 2 or 3 days after that, even, I found myself lately, the last couple months, just being a little bit, not just fatigued, just sort of like, unsettled, not finding a whole lot of joy in things for some reason. And I think it's just that. I think if you let yourself get into this rhythm of this or that, and it could also be that maybe some of that, the first couple of days, was sort of this weaning process. It sort of, you know, that can affect you too. You know, anytime you sort of have something that borders on, you know, addiction is probably not the right term, but sort of we'll say a pseudo-dependency, sort of a pseudo routine. You know, it's probably, you're probably going to experience some kind of a sort of a hole that you've left there, because you just sort of like had that be something that is so, like I said, so routine, such a part of your daily processing that, you know, you're trying to find other things. And so, yeah, so, I mean, you're welcome to share your experiences with this. I think, again, the video itself can be sort of a how-to, whatever you want to call it. But the comments can be as well. I mean, I'll tell you what, when I watch videos on YouTube for a variety of things, whether it be concerts, whether it be tabletop sports, whether it be other things, I mean, I'm hitting the comment section pretty quickly. So, you know, granted, if you put something that is just like, rude and insensitive, or, you know, if it's not, I mean, I would have limits on what's going to be put on there. But if this is top, you know, and 99% of everything that we've had on the channel here as far as comments go are A1, great stuff. And so anything that pertains to this subject and is helpful to those, I mean, it's going to stay on here. I'm just saying that, like, I don't want to blanket say, oh, the comments would never have us do something about them. But for the most part, if you put a comment there, it's going to stay there, and it can be helpful to others too. So I guess my point is, I don't want this just to be sort of seeming like, you know, what I say goes. There may be someone else out there who just said, I don't want to do that because I'm afraid that I will also add this. There was a point back maybe a year ago, when I was thinking to myself, I've had hobbies in the past where if I got out of the rhythm, then I would have a really difficult time finding it again, getting back. And I mean, computer games are somewhat that. I've done things, I mean, I've been a crossword solver. I mean, I would solve months and months of crosswords, and then at some point, and I was also constructing them, and was published a few times. But then once I got out of that routine, you know, it was really dry, and it still is somewhat dry for a long time. This is not the case, I don't think, but it was nice to get through this game here and finish it off tonight. I'm still thinking about where I need to go next, and I think what I'm gonna maybe try and pull out this Stratomatic League that I started last year, and start kind of refreshing my memory on where it was, what all was going on, and see if I can piece it back together to the point where I can get it up and running, and sort of start putting that back together to play some games in that realm. Because, I mean, that's where I sort of cut my teeth. Stratomatic Baseball was sort of the synthesis of this desire and passion, and so I think going back to that might be a nice way to sort of rejuvenate my attitude towards what's going on. Yeah, I mean, I also have some other card sets with the golf. You know, I could do some one-off type stuff, and I might, because I'll tell you what, like I said, just clearing things out of your head for a bit can help. Here are some comments. Jerry says, oh, let's see, Doug Love. Oh, what happened there? Something messed up there. But so, I just want to go through the comments here and address any questions. Or Jerry says he needs coffee and baseball every day. So like I said, Doug, hi, things are going well. Let's see. Doug Love is playing second season. Awesome. Rob's baseball cards. Can relate in regards to baseball cards. Need to be careful to spend time with the kids. Yes. Don't know if this helps, but this is Doug Love. Tend to play a lot for a while and then take a break till I find myself missing my... Yeah, that's... I'll tell you about this. I want to go back. I want to make sure. Hi, Juan. Binge dice rolling. Tend to play. That's baseball demos. Hi, demos. Been a while since I've seen you and talked to you. It's good. Binge dice rolling in Vegas can get you in rehab. That's right, Rob. See, what's the best golf sim that I play? I mean, I've only played one so far. History Maker Golf is a lot of fun from my experience. I know that there are some who have ATBA Golf. There are some other sims. I will say Espo Strat I think he had a, I want to say it was, the name of it was Dice Nuts. He may have had a golf game from that. You might want to check that out. Again, I don't have any personal experience with it. I'm just trying to recall some of the golf games that are out there for cards and dice. But like I said, I have, my experience has been pretty good with, I mean, I ran a whole tour. They have a nice tournament mode if you like a tour. I mean, I did 24 tournaments on the tour. You could cut it back to 12 or 10 or 8 or whatever you want to do that's a little more feasible if you don't have the time. Demos is going to get back to Fidrich tonight. Good. So, Juan asked, do I play video? Yeah, so, funny you mentioned that, because another thing that I've used to do a little bit of this purging is I kind of got myself playing, I got Formula 1 2018 on the PlayStation 4, and I was playing some of that. I had the NHL 2017 game, which is a year old, but you know, I had a league that I had kind of like let go dormant after like 4 games, and so I've been playing a little bit of that. I like Gran Turismo as well. I tend to like racing games, but I wouldn't say there's a lot of great ones on any of the, you know, I like realism, and so Gran Turismo back in the day was always great. It has its downsides, you know, you don't really see damage on cars, you know, you don't really have that, and you know, it just, when you get advanced in the levels, you really need to then get better and better and better, and I don't have any kind of a setup with the steering wheel and pedals, which helps improve your times. I mean, you can get okay on your technique with the analog controller, but you know, a lot of, when you're used to playing video games where it's on off on off on off, like you know, the old Nintendos or anything like that, to then get your finger on that trigger button to be used to just feathering the gas so you don't lose traction coming out of corners and things like that, it can be really difficult to get the feel for that. Also, with your left stick, you got to be careful how far you turn your wheel. Again, combined with that, you know, your gas, and you know, it's just, I think with a steering wheel, it comes much more naturally. You're not going to just hard yank it to the right every time, you know. That's not very natural to just go, oh, I'm coming up to a nice easy right-hander, I'm going to and steer it in the wall. Let's see, and yeah, and we have, Larry says Espo, I don't know, I should touch base with Espo. You know, it's, I guess he's probably been in this game, you know, his I'd say his lifespan as far as playing cards and dice is probably multiples of mine. And so I'll admit I get a little bit worried as well about reaching a point where things are not fresh. And I think you know, I'm at this multiple here, and I think the more multiples you go, they shorten a bit. So this is the first one. My hands, I eat these flaming hot Cheetos, and you can see kind of discolors the fingers a little bit, but I think your first go around is kind of like this. It can be, and then each successive one, when you kind of like get it back together again, it kind of gets shorter and shorter and shorter, to the point where you kind of just flare out a little bit every time. And I'd like to see myself be able to overcome that phenomenon and I hope I can. I mean, personally, I don't know how Tabletop Earl is able to hang in there like he does, but he does, and I mean, he's I gotta give him a lot of credit for that, and for a lot of you who do hang in there for years. Jerry, one of them, decades. And I think it's just having realistic expectations too, knowing that it's something that you love. And and I was going to say, I was going to get back to something else. So a guy who comments on here, Benny Blades, doesn't comment a ton, but every once in a while you see him in the comments or in the live chat. And the thing that he made a good point to me. This is sort of offline, but and not that I want to like peg this to him necessarily, but I do want to give him credit for because I think it is some sage stuff to talk about when you have a YouTube channel or a YouTube presence. Finding why are you doing? What's your motivation? Is it just about getting the views? Is it just about this or that or the other? And that's kind of paraphrasing, or maybe not even encapsulating what he's saying. But the whole point of this when I started was to sort of document my own gaming for my own edification. Didn't expect to have a lot of people begin following, and then I think Earl and I combined our efforts, Tabletop Earl and I combined our efforts, and then we keep kind of steadily growing, which is awesome. But there's got to be a point where it's got to be right in here. And like finishing this game offline was one of it, and I've tried to do some of that. I'm still searching through that a little bit, but like I said, I think getting back to some quick strat games here in the next couple of weeks will maybe get me feeling a little differently about things. Okay. I'm just trying to remove my fingerprints. Yeah, I need some sandpaper or something. Or another thing I've been doing, apologies to those of you who are creating videos, I haven't watched as many in the car. Like, I don't watch them in the car, but for a while there I was listening to a lot of them. I found I've gotten back to listening to audio books, and I really enjoy that. I've been getting into a couple different series. I don't know if any of you read or enjoy. I mean, listening is great for me because I've got about a 45-minute commute each way. I can, depending on the length of the book, I can get through a book in about a week and a half. And I'm currently on the second book of the Jack Reacher series, which is this second book has been a little more frustrating at times, but still pretty good. I found an author. A lot of what I liked for the last few years is Clive Cussler, the Fargo series. I'm okay with Dirk Pitt. It's a lot more nautical. I'd like to check out Isaac Bell, which I think is more of a straight-up detective series. I do like mysteries, so I found an author, Jantz is her last name, and she had the series that I'm kind of listening to alternating in Reacher is called J.P. Beaumont, and he's based in Seattle. And I was a little taken aback by the first couple books in the series, but then because she put a little too much like romance kind of stuff in it, and then the last couple have been much better. So, but anyway, that's a little aside. Okay. Isaac Bell invented the telephone. That's right. And Alexander Newton had the apple hit him on maybe it was the orange hit him on the back of the neck and discovered, I don't know, positrons or something. Yeah. Rob, I missed that one. Audiobooks are okay as long as they're on mute. Oh, goodness. You guys are bringing the fun stuff tonight. Atba Soccer. Yeah, I mean, it's there. I gotta be honest. At the moment, I just, I'm trying to look at the things that are, the things that I've taken in in the last month, let's say. Trying to look at factors, and I don't think Atba Soccer right now is gonna get me back into it the way that I'm gonna play it more for sure, but I kind of need I need to find something that's just gonna flow a little better, you know, if you know what I'm talking about. Like, I'm not necessarily talking about that I'm not making any pronouncements on the game itself, but you know, half an hour to an hour game. Baseball really plays well for that. And so that's where I think I've just kind of like got to get back to basics and get back to the things that sort of got me moving in the right direction. And I think once I get in that direction, then I might be able to kick back into the soccer more, maybe do a little bit more of this football. I mean, I'll probably try to squeeze in some of the soccer anyway. But if you understand what I'm saying, I mean, I try to be measured in the way that I think about things. And so if I am sitting here complaining about myself having, needing this or that, and I don't examine what could have been contributing factors to that, and be honest with myself and be honest with you, then I'm just not doing myself any favors, you know, and I'm not doing you any favors. So, again, I think, and let me also put it this way to you as well. Soccer in itself has been something that is one of these hobbies, I will say. It turned into that. It was, you know, I still like the sport, but I really got hooked on it for a few years. I mean, I did some media stuff with it. I wrote a blog, you know, all that kind of stuff about it. And the sport here in the States just kind of sapped my spirit for it. And so that's another little bit of a factor in this that I think isn't going to come across very well in this kind of situation, because I mean, I hope it does, but I don't know, you might not understand what I'm talking about, because the sport here in the States is always in the back seat, and it's always controlled by people who have other interests, and so it never gets its full due. And me kind of like half, you know, the Bible says the lukewarm will be vomited out. I mean, I hate to be graphic, but that's basically what it says. If you're lukewarm, and I've been, in my writing, I was somewhat lukewarm about soccer in this country, in that I liked MLS to an extent, but I also didn't like some of the infrastructure stuff that it, and I wrote things against it, and it like took a lot out of me, because there's a certain segment of the soccer media in this country that will not respect somebody who thinks that we deserve better than getting Zlatan Ibrahimovic at the end of his career, or, you know, maybe it'll be Cristiano Ronaldo in 2 years, you know, before it was David Beckham. Get a lot of guys like that, and we don't we don't have an open system, which is kind of like duh, because it's tough to support the first league as opposed to having a second and a third and a fourth. But just all of that political stuff, and then kind of like the U.S. had a really, really down cycle most recently. What was it, 2016 World Cup? Is that right? I forget. I don't know. Whenever the World Cup was, it must have been 2010 World Cup, 2014. 20. Oh, well, we had to dismiss. That's what I mean. I've lost years because of soccer, and so we had a World Cup this summer. And I didn't even look at the comments, but I'm like, man. So soccer has this place in my heart that I kind of like weep for myself, because I like the sport, love the sport actually, but I just got sort of the life kind of sucked out of me by some politics and some stuff like that within the sport that just sort of like took it out of me. Plus, anyway, so this APBA soccer, I guess the other thing that it reminds me of is the fact that there are a lot of players in this game that I should know and I don't. There are a lot of players that I used to know better that I don't know as well now. And I guess it sort of rue it a little bit. Like I kind of like, it disappoints me that it is the way it is, but the game itself is fine. So I mean, I'm just there's some like little stuff that contributes. Juan says MLS is kind of sloppy. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, American soccer players are kind of sloppy to an extent. You know, you've got, I mean, the good ones end up in Europe, and they should. That's the way they get better, because this league over here is predicated on defense for the most part. You know, and I think that's it's an effect. It's affected by the setup. You know, you have a playoff system where I think maybe half the teams now make it instead of used to be more than half of them made it, and so you just grind out draws, and there's a good chance you're going to make the playoffs. You know, you win a few of your games at home, and you draw a bunch on the road, and draw the others at home, and heck, you're going to be there. So, you know, defense, and a lot of your coaches in Major League Soccer are defensive-minded head coaches. So, yeah, because I mean they rarely even call them managers in. So, Juan says soccer. Yes, I fully understand that, Juan, and I don't mean to like blow it off, because I think that is important for a number of people. Soccer Blast cuts out some of the midfield stuff that APBA soccer models pretty much roll to roll. Soccer Blast, I think there's a roll, if I understand correctly, talking with Benny Blades and Craig over RNGIDP, I think there's a roll that basically gets you to then roll a D6, and it gives you the number of minutes that you kind of fast forward ahead. So, and I think probably Hockey Blast probably has the same mechanism, or else they wouldn't use the same name. But in any event, that's enough carrying on about my predicament. Again, I thank you for supporting me, and you know, we've had a lot of fun here, and we're going to have a lot more fun here. You know, I appreciate the fact that, and I mean, now I'm extremely appreciative of the fact that we have the two of us here putting stuff on the channel. I'm sure I'm hoping that we don't need any other times for this to happen, but if Earl needs a break, then I'll be here. Maybe if I need a break again at some point down the road, he'll be here. You know, it's like, that's one of the nice things about this. So, all right. Second season, just real quick. Week 3, the game that was started on the channel here, Miami-Buffalo. So we saw the first quarter, Buffalo took a 3-0 lead on a 43-yard Dan Carpenter field goal. Buffalo then, neither team scored in the second quarter. So we got to halftime, it was 3-0, pretty low scoring affair. Then in the second half, let me see. Yeah, so the opening kickoff, the Bills took it to, well, it started off with a Brandon Tate 35-yard kick return, and then took it down the field, and they got a touchdown on an 11-yard pass to Sammy Watkins from Tyrod Taylor. That made it 10-0. After a punt by Miami, then LaShawn McCoy fumbled on, let's see, on their own 27-yard line. So Miami got the ball in Bills territory and proceeded to complete they got a 1-yard gain and then completed a 26-yard touchdown pass to Jarvis Landry. The extra point made it 10-7. Moving to the fourth quarter, so that was with 8:44. That was 8:44 into the third quarter. So with about 5-6 minutes left in the third. So then into the fourth quarter, Miami ties the game on a 38-yard Andrew Franks field goal, make it 10 apiece. And then the Bills are able then to let's see. Well, they take advantage of a Ryan Tannehill interception to then drive the field, and they're able to they take it down to the 2-yard line, but they can't punch it in. So, or maybe I think it was actually the 3-yard line. So a 20-yard field goal from Carpenter made it 13-10, 13-10, with about 9 minutes left, 9-ish, and then another interception led to Mike Gillislee 2-yard touchdown run to make it 20-10, which was the final score. They traded possessions at the end of the game, but Tyrod Taylor 24 for 41, so that's 60%ish passing efficiency. 191 yards through the air, 1 touchdown, sacked 6 times, no interceptions. So the Miami Dolphins defense did put a lot of pressure on him. Tannehill 25 for 34. Pretty efficient day that way. 257 yards through the air, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 2 sacks. McCoy 17 carries for 90 yards. Jarvis Landry, the leading receiver, 7 for 90 with the touchdown. So McCoy also had that fumble. So let's just leave it at that. Yeah, realism at its best there. Ryan Tannehill interception. Good. So, I'm going to stand up here because my backside is getting a little, what do you want to call it? It's falling asleep. So, yeah. So, like I said, I think I'm gonna guess by Tuesday I'll be broadcasting something of some semblance. It might be another just update on where I'm going as far as if it's baseball. I kind of want to get myself back. Kind of like debrief myself on where things stood. I have to also decide. I think it would have to be Stratomatic because I don't want to clutter it by going to something that's not what I kind of like got going on. So, you know, so just, and maybe I'll actually just play a game if I get to that point. We'll see. If I just get to that point and I just decide to play the game, that'd probably be the best thing for all intents and purposes. But anyway, 40 minutes here. I want to thank you all for, again, you know, I'm not a big fan of, you know, drama. Not a big fan of, you know, sob stories of, you know, making a scene, or you know, saying woe is me. So this kind of, you know, the last couple of videos here have been a bit too much like that. So hoping that I can kind of like put this stuff aside for a bit and just kind of like get back down to nuts and bolts of playing the games. But again, I appreciate y'all providing feedback, your experiences. I probably should title these videos something a little bit better than just update. So if somebody happens to do a search, they'll find them, as opposed to not being able to find something about that. But just, I like what a lot of you said about taking care of yourself first. So make sure you all do that. Take care of yourself, your family. You know, make sure the stuff that is number one remains number one. And, you know, there will be time for fun and games. But, you know, make sure that you got all of your bases covered in terms of the stuff that brings you your most happiness in life, which should be your family and your and your livelihood for that as well. So one last check. Did I get the new Red Dead Redemption 2? No, I did not. Rob says debrief until election day. Well, I'm trying to stay away from politics for the most part on here, because, you know, you're either going to think I'm the worst person in the world, or, you know, the smartest based on your political affiliation. So I try, I mean, I've let it known in the past. I'm trying to keep it real and keep it politically stale. Intentionally stale. Not very interesting. Pretty you know, soda cracker-ish, you know, just very, not, you know, maybe a soda cracker's a little too salty. Not a saltine, a soda cracker. So very, you know, it just, everybody can find something they like, hopefully. So, all right, guys, thanks a lot. We will see you soon. Hopefully early this week we'll get something going here and bring it back to some good old-fashioned baseball. So take it easy, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your Saturday and Sunday as well. Take it easy.